Other interesting culture news of the day, you have Disney CEO admits he is overworked and exhausted. Oh, and also the stock is down 9% since he took over. So their stock is about it's about a 10-year low. Needless to say, injecting politics into this media company was not a smart idea, as they alienate more and more and more of what used to be the audience of everyone. Everyone used to love Disney. Most of my lifetime it was considered to be a blue chip stock. It was one of the things where, unlike a tech company where they're more well known for having big spikes in the stock, so the stock will go really up and then it'll go really down, more of a roller coaster. Disney stock was much more of a stable stock where over time, you knew you weren't going to get rich overnight, but over time they just kind of grew consistently in revenue and profit, and they just made things that everyone loved. It wasn't divisive in any way. It wasn't controversial. They actually, now these are rare words in and of itself, they had content with morals and values, which unfortunately in the United States those words may as very well be in another language, as so few people know what they mean, unfortunately. Now, in terms of this statement coming from a news website by the name of The Wrap, although it has nothing to do with the fast food industry, so it's not like a wrap that you would eat, just to clarify. I had to do a little research on that just to be sure. Now, it looks like they're saying the stock's down 9%, and now he has a hostile takeover to deal with, as well as you have Mr. Nelson Peltz, who has a historical successful track of getting involved in companies and de-wokeifying them, perhaps is a accurate term. He basically goes into companies and said, get the hell out of politics, you're making ice cream, which he did when he put himself in the position to be an investor at Unilever, who's the parent company of Ben & Jerry's. And he did this with multiple other companies as well. You get rid of the politics, the investors loved it, the consumers loved it, and the price went up. Now, about 7 or 8 months ago, he did the same thing with Disney. He's tried to get more involved. He said, hey, Bob Iger, you need to get the cost down. So the only reason Mr. Nelson didn't get a seat at the board of directors at that time is because Bob Iger, the CEO, acquiesced and said, okay, we're going to cut cost, which obviously he should have had to do that, or should have had the intelligence to do that without an investor telling him, like, dear God, your costs are out of control. Your movies are bleeding money. But again, I think that's a combination of two things. One, they inject BS politics that nobody wants, or very few people want. People on the very left love it, and they are capturing a new market in that regard. But I think people in the middle and people on the right, they don't want the politics and the content. So it's that the reason their movies aren't making a profit is because they're putting political themes in there. And secondly, the costs are astronomical. I mean, you look at the little, what was it, Indiana Jones, the cost to manufacture that, I can't believe it doesn't even deserve to be called a film, that boondoggle. It was in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The cost is so great, there's no conceivable way it would ever make a profit. And of course, they had the insufferable actress trying to take over, made him look like an old buffoon, pejorative old white guy. A cliche as old as time in Hollywood, or at least past maybe 10, 15 years. So they're just getting worse and worse. Now, it looks like Bob Iger even admitted, saying, quote, the company was in worse shape than realized when he came back. And again, their streaming platform, Disney Plus, is still losing hundreds of millions of dollars every quarter. And the 2024 deadline was the point at which they promised it was going to turn a profit to Wall Street. But the cost of the producing the shows are ever increasing. And they even were going to acquire a streaming company by the name of BAMP Tech, but it turned out to be much more expensive, so they kind of dropped that idea. They also have another deadline coming up where they negotiated with Comcast for Disney to acquire the remaining stake of Hulu, which Comcast still has the remaining stake of 33%. And right now, the estimate is that they're going to acquire it for no less than $27.5 billion. And you can also debate what kind of value they're getting out of that. They already have majority control of Hulu. So Comcast, again, it's still a big percent. 33 is a lot, but once you own more than 51% of the company, you already have most of the say of how the company is operated. So, and let me know in the comments, do you think it's worth for them to go through with that acquisition? Or do you think that money could be better spent elsewhere? As the company, again, is bleeding money from every division, seemingly, with the exception of the parks. And that's partially thanks to the overseas parks, where they're still raking in money. Now, in the U.S., they are having adult grown men dress up in dresses, selling dresses to little girls an interesting business idea, which again is alienating a big part of what used to be the consumer base. Again, the consumer base used to be everyone. And again, they are appeasing a certain part of the market with their new strategy. But again, with the current demographics of the United States, that is a very small portion of the total market. And you're alienating, I would argue that you're alienating a much greater number of people. And I was just about to say the sales and the stock all support my theory. Now, it'll be interesting to see him joking about, why he's coming back. I mean, he's in his 70s. He was on a yacht, retired, kind of chilling out, so to say. And when he departed back in 2020, and I mean, he's got that proxy war. He's also cut about another $3 billion in spending, getting rid of 7,000 jobs. And I mean, it just sounds like every day his life is a fight, and he has a culture fight as well. So it'd be fascinating to see a legitimate interview with Bob Iger. Perhaps you'd have to have him slightly inebriated. There's an old saying that used to be something of the fact that a drunk man's words are a sober man's thoughts, something to that effect. Because right now there's not just a proxy war with this investor who wants to take over the company. He has this war inside the company as well, because you have activists inside the company, self-proclaimed activists who want to inject politics into the children's content. And Bob Iger claims he wants to get rid of that. He claimed that almost a year ago now, that when he came back as CEO. Then 2 or 3 weeks ago, he made the same announcement. Again, I'm not a scientist, but if you click the subscribe button, it may fix the stuttering. It's not proven yet, but I've heard crazier theories when it comes to health. But so is this instances where he's fighting a battle on multiple fronts now. He's got the investor he has to worry about, who the investor already has over $2 billion in stock. And this investor, Nelson, he's just going to keep increasing that. He's going to get some seats at the board of directors. He was originally just wanting one. He's fighting for multiple seats now. And again, in terms of politics and businesses, getting a seat at board of directors is a big deal. And that could very well be a way to fix the company, but so he's got that fight going on. And he has the internal employees who they love putting the political stuff into the content. The number of those employees are just exponential, or so it seems. The only way I could conceivably see Disney being saved at this point is if the investor takes over, fires Bob Iger, takes over as CEO perhaps, and fires basically every single damn employee who wants politics in the content. And then promise the investors, say, before we release any content, whether it be a film or an animation or anything like that, I'm going to personally inspect and watch it to ensure there's no politics in this film, thereby addressing and going after the whole market, which would also long-term would increase their sales. I know some people are boycotting Disney just on their principles right now. That might be a way to win those customers back. And again, I was about to say there's no simple answers, but those kind of sound pretty simple in terms of concepts that you can use to fix the company. Now, the only question is, how much is it going to cost? How much time is it going to take? Because again, firing and hiring people, depending on how bureaucratic the company is, that could take years, as ridiculous as that sounds. So let me know in the comments, do you think, he sounds like Bob Iger, he sounds like he's regretting coming back. He's fighting a battle on multiple fronts. Maybe do you think he'll retire? I mean, it seems like most of his career has been at Disney. Interestingly enough, he built Disney up quite well in terms of before he left and subsequently gave the CEO reins to his protege, Bob Chapek. Is one of those things where Bob Iger, he made some strategic moves that were quite fruitful. They bought Marvel, which again, they make those billion-dollar blockbusters, which used to make money. They got Star Wars, which I would also argue, and he actually admitted later, that they've been making too much of that content and it's been decreasing the value, so less and less people are tuning in. So he made some good moves in the past, but let me know, what do you think is going to be the end result of this scenario? It'll be interesting to see. And when it comes to that little mouse at Disney, it seems to be on life support. What is it going to take to save Mickey? And I'm not sure. I might have to look into this. They might have already banned Minnie because it's too controversial. Tomorrow might just be 2 Mickeys. I don't know. So much uncertainty with the company. It's hard to say what they'll do for the next PR move. Let me know in the comments. It's fascinating to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, I know I'm trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of October, so if you can click that button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, the feedback is greatly appreciated in the comment section as we make the show better and better together. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to like it, because that also helps out the video to get shared more and more. And also, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, Tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.